kayak trips and the kayak demos. Can you explain both of those and kind of explain the difference between them?
Yeah, so our kayak trips are fee-based program that roughly a 2-hour window. We've scheduled specific times primarily on Tuesdays and Saturdays. You can sign up for a trip. We have 12 kayaks that we have room for 12 people. It's again roughly a 2-hour trip, and that includes everything from your paddle, your kayak, your personal flotation device. The nice part about all of our kayak activities, we're meeting in Riverside Park, where we just literally yesterday put in a new handicap accessible dock. So all of the kayakers and many, some of the kayakers are experienced, many of them on our trips, it's their first, second, third time out ever. So we do brief lessons with folks, get them in the lagoon area of Riverside Park, a little less intimidating than the river, and show them, and they get a time to practice, usually anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes on strokes, turning, stopping, all of the typical maneuvers you would use in a kayak, and then we venture onto the river. And there's some different terms that we've used for the either paddle nights is one. In fact, this Friday is our first paddle night. So that is an opportunity where we will have kayaks and or canoes where people can then come out free of charge and utilize either of the boats for a 20 to 30 minutes. Again, mostly in the lagoon area, so it's families and kids. We have a lifeguard on duty, so people will feel safe. The lifeguard will actually be in the water with the folks in an actual kayak. Those are the days that are paired with Food Truck Fridays. So the paddle nights, Luke, are free events, 4 different Fridays. The first one is this Friday. And that's going to encompass anybody who's 10 years or above can jump in one of the boats with us. And again, with full, again, guidance, instruction, safety is all in mind.
John, why host something like this?
So a couple of reasons, I think, Luke, that I would think that we're doing it. Number one is any general activity to get people outside, especially post-COVID, to do something that maybe they haven't done before. The kayaking, especially, Luke, is something that enables, you have to buy a kayak, get paddles, and then get your kayak to a river or to a water source. Not easy for people to do. This allows them the ease of trying it and finding out if they like it. Any chance we can get the community together, that's another part around the Food Truck Fridays. Enormous opportunities. Again, post-COVID, we're all in that world now, at least post-COVID-ish, I think maybe is a term I've used, as we're still cautious but aware that certainly outdoor activities that people want to gather. There's a huge need for this. We've seen in all of our programming, people want to be together now. So this is just another way to do that.
According to the release there, it says a lifeguard will be on site, but will there be any other guides or anyone along those lines?
There are, yep. Our full staff will be there. So all of our staff that leads our kayak trips, and again, the kayak trips that we talked about originally, we do have a guide for those trips. That person is here along with 1 or 2 others that are part of that ensuring, again, helping people get comfortable and will be there the entire time with them.
Gotcha. I do apologize too if you're hearing any background noise or people talking in the background.
A little bit, not a big deal at all.
So. Okay, perfect. So David had said, again, looking at the release, that the programs are part of a larger goal to reconnect community members, as you mentioned, they're getting them back out and outdoors to the Grand River as restoration efforts take shape. Can you elaborate a little bit on those restoration efforts?
Yeah, so they are, the Grand River doesn't look a whole lot different to us right now. If we were to look at the Grand River 10, 15 years ago and look at it today, it looks somewhat similar. That's going to change. You're going to see heavy equipment along the city portion of the Grand River as the River for All project moves forward. It's a slow process because there's permitting involved. There's a lot of work, a lot of dollars that groups are involved. The Grand River is going to look very different, in that stretch that goes through downtown Grand Rapids. And this is, I think, part of, one of the early steps is to get people thinking, what is it going to be like to be on the river? What is it like to be on the Grand River? We're doing it up at Riverside Park, but you're going to see folks, paddling through town, maybe boats. You might see beachfront. It's going to look a lot different. So a big part of that, Luke, is changing the mindset of folks that when you look at the river, other than people fishing in the river, you're going to see a lot of activity, and we're hoping that a lot of residents will take part in that activity.
Can you just share a little bit too on registration?
The registration process.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, so if you want to, so let me hit both of them. So the paddle nights, which again,
Yeah.
we have, you'll see Facebook events for all of this. That's something you can just show up for. The paddle nights, again, there's 4 dates, one in May, June, July, and August. It's from 5 to 8 Friday nights at Riverside Park. The kayak trips or adventures, you would simply register by going to the Parks and Rec website, and there are at least 40 plus dates that you can choose from. Again, primarily Tuesday night is one trip at 6 o'clock, and then Saturday we have 2 available options. It's not every single Saturday throughout the summer, but it's most of them.
John, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Anything else that you'd like to add or put out there?
No, you hit it pretty good with the questions. You got into the detail. The one thing I would emphasize, if people are not, that this is the sensitive part about this, Luke, that we have in the fine print, but generally speaking, the weight limit in our kayaks is 250 pounds. So not sure there's an appropriate place to mention that in what you're doing, but or maybe mentioning there are restrictions sometimes. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you're going to get awfully wet. So, but everything is provided is the key thing. You simply show up, you know, whether it's a paddle night or a kayak trip, and then everything's provided for you.